to some other hospital, they won't give that.
आप साकेत सिटी हॉस्पिटल से हैं, मान लीजिए किसी और को कोई और हॉस्पिटल जाना है, आपका हॉस्पिटल मुहैया कराएगा एम्बुलेंस?
See, ideally it has to be that way.
No, but does your hospital does
Well,
that?
yes, we do, because that it was initially GM Modi Hospital, and we have been famous for this kind of patient service. It's always been there.
So you're saying hospital to hospital transfer?
Yes.
Notwithstanding whether the ambulance is from a hospital and the patient is going to be hospital.
Exactly.
It should
the
be
hospital
provided.
should be sensitized.
But can't the hospitals among themselves agree to something basic
well,
like this?
I don't know why they don't do that. I have been always big advocate of these things, that once the person requires, people don't call ambulance for recreation. They always have some problem, then only they call for ambulances. And then we say that we don't work on this particular thing. That's not right. There are lots of things which are not right. But again, to start with, it's a very small thing which somebody can say. There's nothing which can second a life. Like, you know, if you leave the life, you lose the life. That's the best.
So once somebody makes a distress call, as you said, nobody will call for recreation. What's the response time?
See, response time vary. It depends on the distance. It depends on the traffic. In our scenario, it depends on traffic. But ideally, the ambulance should be out of the hospital or the organization within 5 to 10 minutes. Ideally, when the patient is unconscious, the brain death happens between 1.5 to 5 minutes. Ideal time is that much, but anyway, in the international standards, 20 minutes is the minimum time for an ambulance to reach particular person. It depends on the.
और अगर एम्बुलेंस पहुंचे और जैसा आपने कहा उसमें मान लीजिए पैरामेडिक नहीं है, या सपोर्ट स्टाफ की ट्रेनिंग उतनी नहीं है, या कोई बेसिक फैसिलिटी नहीं है, मान लीजिए बीपी मापने का यंत्र नहीं है, या ऑक्सीजन नहीं है.
We should be very clear on that. We should just kill them.
Is it a case of medical negligence?
It's medical. It is definitely. Once you say ambulance, you call for ambulance, it is there. It has to be there. Ambulance means this much. Ambulance means that you are providing the best life support for the, because that will decide the course of his life. He can be completely vegetable because you don't have oxygen, you don't supply oxygen, you don't know how to do a CPR. Patient might end up having his brain death. And even if he's not, even if he's alive and his brain is gone, he's vegetable. So the whole responsibility lies on that. So you have to be very, very clear what you're going into, and one should be very, very particular in asking what exactly they want. And before calling, once they call for ambulance, they should make it doubly sure that what they're doing and whom they're calling and who's coming.
And by the time that ambulance comes, for those 5-10 minutes, it's important that the attendant also puts in place entire documentation, the medical history.
Yes, that is there. But again, sometimes you don't have a medical history. There are lots of young deaths happening for the cardiac arrest, for medical MI and everything. There are lots of things which are happening day in, day out. There are lots of young deaths happening. So in that case, there is no medical record. So ultimately, the person who is coming in the ambulance should be aware of at least giving a basic CPR, basic oxygen support. He should know how to put the patient on, intubate a patient, to put a definitive airway so that whatever he is, usually people are in the house, they eat, and then they get unconscious. That edible material can go into lungs. So all these prevention should be a basic minimum requirement of an ambulance and the staff coming with the ambulance.
Absolutely. And that's why it's very important that for all the viewers to probably, you know, one can enroll for a cardiopulmonary resuscitation program, CPR, because everybody can be a doctor in those golden hours. But Dr. Sahab, जब भी एम्बुलेंस की बात होती है, हमारे जहन में एक वैन, 4-wheeler की बात आती है, लेकिन क्या स्कूटर, दोपहिया वाहन भी एम्बुलेंस हो सकता है?
Well, there is some kind of scheme which is going on wherein they are getting, especially in Delhi, they've started in CATS, this is a part of CATS program. I don't know how successful it is. But yes, if somebody reaches there and withholds the fort for some time and provides the basic life support, start doing CPR, some basic drugs and all, by the time a definitive help arrives, so it's also as good as that. For in particular that way, it is a good idea to install like CPR training for general public. It does not require any medical expertise. We do it day in, day out for our security guards and for our GDAs.
If general public wants to do, is it free of cost? Where can they reach out?
There is some cost attached to it because there are lots of experts who come in there.
How much, say an average man wants to learn CPR, how much would it cost?
It's around 1,000-1,500 rupees.
A single day course?
Single day course.
After that he can learn?
He can learn CPR. He know how to save a person at least who is unconscious. He can know how to fix a fracture. He knows how to control a bleeding. At least he can put a pressure. There are lots of things when there was somebody who was telling accident happens and people don't do anything. Most of the people in India does not know what to do. They are scared of legislation, but at least you can give, even if you just turn the patient on side, he will be saved because his tongue does not fall. The most common time when the accident happens, tongue falls back and he could not get oxygen and he dies. So even if you turn him on the side, that is the training basic module of BLS training, and it's a very, very important training. And of lately, lots of multinational corporates, they are always involved in this, and this comes under occupational health hazard, that everybody who's working in a premises should know how to do a BLS.
Absolutely. For corporates watching this program, even as part of corporate social responsibility, how about conducting a CPR program? लेकिन ये बताइए, आपको तो बहुत अनुभव है एम्बुलेंस सर्विसेज में, और क्या इनोवेटिव सॉल्यूशंस हम ला सकते हैं, क्योंकि यहाँ पे किसी की जान बचाने की बात है.
Well, that is exactly what we are intending to do. Innovative solution comes once you have a perfect solution in place. So once you have the perfect solution in place, then you can think about.
But we know the practicalities
exactly.
of India.
So, but again, the only innovation is that people feel aware of it. The best part is once you are aware of it, nothing to beat it. And once you have a desire to do something, once you have a desire to learn something, once you have that respect for a life which is going on, just because of some of your maneuver, probably a person can get saved. Nothing, no service. Manav Seva is Madhav Seva. That is exactly what it's.
मानव सेवा माधव सेवा है. तो चलते चलते जब हम एम्बुलेंस के लिए उस समय डिस्ट्रेस में जब फोन करें, किन बातों का ध्यान रखें?
इन बातों का ध्यान रखना चाहिए कि एम्बुलेंस आपकी साफ हो, एम्बुलेंस में जो स्टाफ आ रहा है वो बहुत ही ट्रेन होना चाहिए, उसके पास सारी इमरजेंसी दवाइयाँ हों, ऑक्सीजन का सपोर्ट पूरा हो, और साथ में अगर एक डॉक्टर है, यदि आपको लगता है कि पेशेंट हंस रहा है, बोल रहा है, बात कर रहा है, उसको थोड़ी प्रॉब्लम है, देन डॉक्टर कैन बी अवॉइडेड. बट वंस यू थिंक दैट द पेशेंट इज अनकॉन्शियस, पेशेंट इज नॉट इनटू हिज सेंसेस, और इफ यू थिंक देयर इज सम मेजर प्रॉब्लम, यू शुड ऑलवेज आस्क फॉर अ डॉक्टर हु इज ट्रेन्ड इनफ टू टेक केयर ऑफ द पेशेंट.
और अस्पताल कम से कम सारे मिलके ये कर सकते हैं पेशेंट की सेवा के लिए कि अपनी एम्बुलेंस दूसरे अस्पताल को भी मुहैया कराएं.
And one more thing, that's the point. I've got a forum to make up a point that lots of time it happens that the patient comes to the hospital, and it's a Supreme Court legislation also that you have to provide the basic life support and the advanced life support till he's out of danger, and then you shift him to the nearest possible hospital if the patient is not able to afford. So most of the time when we send the patient, I'm telling you about the practical experience, when we send the patient to the hospitals, especially the hospitals of government repute, they are very, very peculiar in not taking the patients. So I'm just appealing that please be slightly more humanitarian in those kind of things. When we initially stabilize the patient, transfer it to your particular facility, you should never deny the patients.
And a lot of young people who are watching the program out here who would like to join the medical field, this could be a career option, pre-hospital sector.
It's a huge career option, and in all of the world, if you talk about pre-hospital paramedics, pre-hospital, you don't know, in the Western world you don't require doctors to do the ambulance services. They are only the pre-medical life support people who do, and they are one of the most respected and highly paid. In India, we are working now, started thinking about developing a paramedical force. It's still a long way to go, but still somebody started trying, so we are still in the module of training.
Right. Well, to enlighten us on this very important sector, pre-hospital sector, Dr. Navneet, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. याद रखिए वो नंबर 102 यदि आपको एम्बुलेंस की सर्विसेज चाहिए, और यदि आपके पास कोई इनोवेटिव सुझाव हो तो भी हमें ज़रूर लिखिएगा. और आपको याद है ना कि आज रात 10:30 बजे डीडी नेशनल पर इम्तिहान कार्यक्रम की जगह हमारा विशेष कार्यक्रम जाएगा कवि प्रदीप पर.
कवि प्रदीप के जीवन पर विशेष कार्यक्रम जरा आंख में भर लो पानी, एक कहानी.
लगता है कि यह आदमी पूरा हिंदुस्तानी था.
हम सब भारतीय हैं, हमारी माता भारत माता है.
दीदी बहुत इमोशनल हो जाते हैं जब वो गाना गाते हैं.
जरा आंख में भर लो पानी, एक कहानी. 6 फरवरी रात 10:30 बजे डीडी नेशनल पर.